International News.
President Muhammadu Buhari in Washington, D.C. meets key American businessmen and policymakers. Diaspora group in United Kingdom pledges support for President Buhari's administration. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo decries declining state of legal education in Nigeria. Plus, FIFA fixes February 26, 2016 for its presidential election. Happy Salah celebrations to our Muslim viewers and welcome to the news on NTA International, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria. I'm Taiwo Odubeson. The United States government has promised to support the Buhari administration in whatever way possible towards ensuring peace, security stability, and socio-economic development in view of its ripple effect on Africa and the developing world. President Barack Obama made the promise while formally receiving President Muhammadu Buhari at the Oval Office in the White House. He described the Nigerian leader as a man of integrity who is genuinely committed to addressing the myriad of challenges confronting Nigeria, which he called one of the most important countries in the world.
President Buhari comes into office with a reputation for integrity and a very clear agenda, and that is to make sure that he is bringing safety and security and peace to this country. He's very concerned about the spread of Boko Haram and the violence that's taking place there and the atrocities that they've carried out, and has a very clear agenda in defeating Boko Haram and extremism of all sorts inside of this country. And he has a very clear agenda with respect to rooting out the corruption that too often has held back the economic growth and prosperity of this country. On both these issues, we're looking forward to hearing more about his plans and how the United States can partner with Nigeria so that Nigeria ends up being an anchor not only of prosperity and stability in the eastern core part of the continent, but can also be an outstanding role model for developing countries around the world. If you want to take the money and keep the pressure on the same Nigerian government, they will not accept anything less constitutional as far as the principles of the election are concerned. We cannot make this because other impossible objectives that our party identified is based on security, economy, employment, sector of youth, and non-party corruption. We have seen the happening that the United States has made it absolutely clear to the first election that they are prepared to help Nigeria in this aspect in war and war.
And as part of his visit, President Muhammadu Buhari has met key American businessmen and policymakers led by former U.S. Secretary of State Madeleine Albright. It was at a dinner he hosted in furtherance of his resolve to attract more investments in Nigeria towards boosting the economy and creating job opportunities. State House correspondent Dada Musambo reports.
Since coming to power, President Muhammadu Buhari has left no one in doubt in his determination to reinvigorate the nation's economy, fight corruption and impunity, as well as address the issue of joblessness and its attendant consequences on national security and stability. The meeting with prominent businessmen in the United States and beyond therefore provided the opportunity for President Buhari and his team to answer questions on all issues agitating their minds and also reassure them of genuine collaboration and cooperation anchored on the new spirit of change in Nigeria. Participants at the closed-door meeting said the interaction, which also touched on governance and key sectors of the economy, was frank and promising to both parties.
The Americans have high expectations as to what is possible under President Buhari, given his personal pedigree, his reputation, his commitment to fighting corruption and putting an end to impunity. So listening to them one after the other, you could see a renewed excitement, a renewed hope that this time around we have a captain, who can lead us to destination. I'm happy as a Nigerian that, the world will gain some recognition around the world. I think the president's response to each of the issues shows that he's quite at home with all the issues. He's aware of the challenges, but he's demonstrated that he has the will to deal with those challenges.
This is at the beginning of a series of many other meetings that are to follow behind, and I'm sure at the end of the meetings that are going to be held by different parties and sectors, a lot of gains will be accessed by the country in terms of trade, cooperation, collaboration, security, and fighting corruption. The meeting was also attended by the United States Under-Secretary of State for African Affairs, Linda Thomas-Greenfield. President Buhari is also expected to be hosted to a dinner by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and Corporate Council for Africa. In Washington, D.C., Damaturu, NTA News.
Still on the visit, as President Muhammadu Buhari begins bilateral talks with President Barack Obama and other top hierarchy of the United States government, expectations are high that there will be deliverables at the end of the issues-oriented visit. Adeyemi Omojola Fatoba spoke with Pastor Tunde Bakari, a member of President Buhari's high-powered delegation. Her report.
The honorable invitation, a warm and colorful airport reception, and special accommodation, all in honor of President Muhammadu Buhari by the United States within 2 months of his administration, all show how important Nigeria is in the community of nations. A member of President Buhari's delegation, Pastor Tunde Bakari, says Nigeria does not have any other option than to regain its glory, adding that Nigeria and the United States, by virtue of their positions, can do many things together for the benefit of both countries.
We want to see that our bilateral relationship is restored to normalcy. The two countries can begin to emotionally, in a beneficial manner, talk with each other. The most powerful country in the world, and the most populous country in Africa, and the biggest and the largest economy in Africa. There's so many things we can do together, and we look forward to that. In addition to every other thing that might be on the table, like issues of security, issues of corruption, issues of economy, the management of our commerce and everything.
President Muhammadu Buhari is scheduled to meet President Barack Obama, Vice President Joe Biden, Secretary of State John Kerry, among others. From the Blair House in Washington, D.C., Adeyemi Omojola Fatoba, NTA News.
Moving on to the United Kingdom. A group of Nigerians in the United Kingdom have expressed willingness to support President Muhammadu Buhari in moving the country forward. The group, under the auspices of Nigeria in Diaspora, gave this commitment at a roundtable discussion in London. Bilkisu Abdurazak Odoye reports.
The group, made up of Nigerians from different phases of life, focused their discussion on specific areas adjudged as critical to the country's development, such as agriculture, infrastructure, education, health, and job creation.
We have the resource, we have catches that are sold within the country. You can get meat, you can get meat, you can get fried skin, several things that can be exported. Once we understand these issues, what we need to look at is how can the government incentivize investors to come in and work on this industry and expand that industry, which will generate jobs, generate taxes, will provide employment. It's going to have a transformative effect on the economy.
Members of the group pledged to support the change initiatives of the government to fast-track its developmental strides.
We know there are cases of people in Nigeria, but we believe with
we've always learned with our experiences and skills from this country and from other parts of the world where things are working, that we can actually make a huge difference.
So from private-public sector partnerships, finance, for instance, there are people who work in banks in the city of London who they could introduce to Nigerian governments to say, enter into partnerships with them. They will fund it and help you meet the cost.
The first set with the goodwill President Muhammadu Buhari's administration ends Nigeria is enjoying at home and abroad. It is time to go full steam and harness all the support to move Nigeria forward and achieve the change initiatives set out by government. In London, Bilkisu Abdulrazak Oduoyi, NTA News.
Back home, the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, says the legal profession might continue to suffer serious decline and lose its pride of place in the affairs of the country if fundamental reforms were not implemented. The Vice President, who stated this at the inauguration of Sir Adetokunbo Ademola Dining Hall of the Nigerian Law School, Lagos, urges legal professionals to reform and renovate the law profession in the country to meet international standards. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports.
And I pray that it will be an opportunity also for us to reflect on how to renovate our profession and how to make our profession much more like what it was meant to be. A noble profession, a profession where justice is taken seriously, a profession where our word is our bond and where integrity is taken seriously. That's the challenge that I think we lawyers in this generation have.
Now to security matters. The Chief of Army Staff, Major General Tukur Yusuf Buratai, has challenged graduates of the Special Force to reinforce combat efficiency in counter-insurgency operation in the Northeast to push up contest against terrorism. This was at the headquarters, 27th Task Force Brigade, Damaturu, Yobe State. Defense correspondent Muhammad Abdul Kadri has the report.
The 44-member Special Force displayed mastery in weapon handling, ambush drill, and skirmishes to suppress the power of the adversaries. The Chief of Army Staff, who had earlier prayed with the soldiers at the headquarters 27th Force Brigade Mosque, said, "The more the sweat in peacetime, the less the bleeding in war times."
Physically, mentally, and spiritually rejuvenated to face these criminals.
With the spiritual and physical rejuvenation of the truth, the battle has been handed over to God, and with that, there is victory at the end of the tunnel. At a special barbecue organized for the truth, the leadership of the state and the force enlivened the spirit and mood of sharing during Salah as Governor Ibrahim Gaidam, the Chief of Army Staff, Major General Tukur Yusuf Buratai, and the General Officer Commanding 3D, Major General Fatah Ali, personally dished out for the soldiers.
If not because of their gallantry nature, the situations on ground should have been different.
I can assure you that we will not disappoint in this task of bringing peace and stability to Nigeria.
For the Chief of Army Staff being in my brigade, area of responsibility is a very big moral booster. From the headquarters, 27th Task Force Brigade, Damaturu, Muhammad Abdul Kadri, NTA News.
Still talking security. A suicide bomber has detonated an improvised explosive device in a vehicle at a police stop and search point along Maiduguri Road in Damaturu, Yobe State, killing 7 persons. The bomber, conveying 2 women and a teenager in a Toyota Highlander, was apprehended at the police checkpoint where the bomb detonated while being searched. The death toll included 2 policemen and a passenger in another vehicle coming from Maiduguri, which was being searched. 2 other police and 1 civilian who were among the injured are receiving treatment at the General Sani Abacha Hospital in Damaturu. Moving on to religious matters. As all intending pilgrims for the 2015 Hajj look forward to August 18 for the inaugural flight, signaling the commencement of the Hajj season, the National Hajj Commission has advised states Muslims pilgrims welfare agencies to ensure that their pilgrims receive proper orientation on the rites of Hajj and also how to conduct themselves. Adamu Hassan Abdullahi has an overview of preparations by the Commission ahead of the flag-off.
As the August 18 date draws nearer, the National Hajj Commission of Nigeria intensifies preparations for a successful take-off. To this end, several committees tasked with different responsibilities from health, consular, accommodation, transportation, public enlightenment and feeding have been dispatched to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to engage relevant stakeholders to ensure pilgrims achieve a successful Hajj.
You can imagine people calling to stay in that outside in the Abuja in Medina. These services require cleanliness of the environment, not eating on the bedroom, there's a restaurant, so we need to educate our people on how to use this service that for future we need to give all this money to be used. Fully prepared, we have inspected the houses and we have done all the arrangements for feeding and the guys on ground.
The Commission had also sponsored some officials to monitor the conduct of Nigerians on lesser Hajj and quality of services rendered in view of the high fees paid this year.
We have met with the Master on the issue of the tent arrangement for our tour operators. The number of tour operators that came for this year's Umrah operations, they are too minimal compared to what we have been having in the last 4 years.
7 indigenous airlines and 1 foreign have been approved for the 2015 Hajj airlift to Saudi Arabia. They are expected to airlift 65,000 regular pilgrims. 10,000 international pilgrims going through the various tour operators are to engage designated international airlines approved by the Saudi Arabian government. Adamu Hassan Abdullahi, NTA News.
This is the news on NTA International, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. We earlier informed you that President Buhari has met key American businessmen and policymakers in Washington, D.C. You also heard that Vice President Yemi Osinbajo has decried the declining state of legal education in Nigeria. Still to come, FIFA's presidential election to hold on February 26, 2016. Details in a moment.
You are watching NTA, Nigerian Television Authority. For more information and news updates, visit our website at www.nta.ng, or you can follow us on Twitter at NTA News Now, or you can like us on Facebook at NTA Network News. Stay connected on our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/NTA News Online. Watch our live stream at www.nta.ng/live. NTA, you can be service.
Back to our earlier reports, the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, says the legal profession might continue to suffer serious decline and lose its pride of place in the affairs of the country if fundamental reforms were not implemented. The Vice President, who stated this at the inauguration of Sir Adetokunbo Ademola Dining Hall of the Nigerian Law School, Lagos, urges legal professionals to reform and renovate the law profession in the country to meet international standards. State House correspondent Jide Onifade reports.
Going down memory lane, the Vice President Yemi Osinbajo observed that the Nigerian Law School is an institution known for its excellence in the teaching of law, character and discipline. The declining rate of law education in the country, he says, calls for concern. He urged members of the Council of Legal Education to ensure that the necessary restructuring and reorganization of the legal education sector is put in place to promote the Nigerian legal system until it is at par with international standards.
I pray that it will be an opportunity also for us to reflect on how to renovate our profession and how to make our profession much more like what it was meant to be, a noble profession, a profession where justice is taken seriously, a profession where our word is our bond and where integrity is taken seriously. That's the challenge that I think we lawyers in this generation have.
The Director General of the Nigerian Law School, Olariwaju Onodeko, says the institution is special as it has trained many lawyers in the country, and stressed that the institution would not relent in providing quality legal education in the country. Participants commended the South Atlantic Petroleum Limited, funded by a retired Chief of Army Staff, General Theophilus Danjuma, for remodeling and refurbishing the Ademola Dining Hall. The Vice President has since returned to Abuja. Jide Onifade, NTA News.
Now to business. Dollar hits 3-month high. United States and Cuba quietly open historic new chapter in post-Cold War ties, and Greek debt crisis, bank reopens but stock market still closed as market urges swift bailout talks. Details of this with Fatima Aliu.
Recent gains as expectations of rising U.S. interest rates gathered pace, while gold prices plunged to the lowest in more than 5 months. The dollar reached its highest since April 23rd against a basket of major currencies and was last up 0.1% on today. And the United States and Cuba quietly ushered in a new era of post-Cold War relations Monday. Differences remain, and efforts towards full normalization between the United States and the communist-ruled island are expected to proceed slowly. Monday's step culminated more than 2 years of negotiations between governments that have long shunned each other. Meanwhile, Greek banks opened their branches across the country Monday after a 3-week shutdown. Official reports indicate that German Chancellor Angela Merkel appointed for swift aid talks so that Athens could also lift withdrawal limits. The cautious reopening of the banks and an increase in value-added tax on restaurants from Monday are aimed at restoring trust inside and outside Greece after an aid from the reform bill last week averted bankruptcy. Fatima Ali, NTA News.
Former Chadian leader goes on trial in Senegal for alleged crimes against humanity committed during his 8-year rule, and UK Prime Minister David Cameron unveils strategy to beat Islamic extremism. Details of this and more with Justin Ben Oyi.
Latest reports from Senegal say former Chadian President Habre has been forced by an African Union-backed court in Dakar to appear for the start of his trial on charges of crimes against humanity. Habre is accused of being responsible for the torture and killing of thousands of people during his 1982 to 1990 reign. This is the first time that courts of one country on the African continent have prosecuted the former ruler of another for alleged human rights crimes. The UN Food Agency have warned on Monday that a highly contagious strain of avian flu is spreading across West Africa, destroying poultry farms and stoking fears that the virus will jump from birds to humans. The agency says if the virus continues to spread, it could affect more than 330 million people across West Africa, hurting food security and human health in a region still recovering from the Ebola crisis. It calls for urgent action to strengthen veterinary investigation and reporting systems to tackle the disease at the root. And from the UK, Prime Minister David Cameron is setting out government plans to defeat the Islamist extremism in Britain. He has pledged to tackle what he called the failure of integration, which have seen hundreds of UK citizens joining Islamic State extremists. Cameron disclosed among other government strategies to include setting up a new engagement forum and launching a new study looking at how extremism spreads. The United States and Cuba quietly ushered in a new era of post-Cold War relations formally restoring full diplomatic ties severed by 54 years of enmity between the countries and re-establishing embassies in each other's capitals. Justin Ben, NTA News.
Sports update. Nigerian athletes intensify preparations for All African Games as February 2016 is date for FIFA presidential election. Amansi Marcos has the details.
Nigerian athletes who represent their motherland at the forthcoming All Africa Games in Congo-Brazzaville have pledged to play safe and compete clean. Weightlifters and wrestlers made the pledge Monday at the Package B section of the Abuja National Stadium when the Director General of the National Sports Commission, Alhassan Yakmut, visited the athletes preparing for the September Games. Yakmut expressed sadness on the past incidents of doping involving Nigerian athletes in international competitions, saying such must stop. So what we are trying to do here is to ensure that every hour, every day, every week, every month to the 2nd of September when the All Africa Games will commence is not technically wasted. Super Falcons acting coach Christopher Benzema is confident that Nigeria will leave nothing to chance when they take on Equatorial Guinea in the second leg third round qualifier for the Rio 2016 Olympic Games. Benzema, who spoke alongside team captain Evelyn Wabuku, said the players will have overcome the shock of the death of Gracious Akujobi, who was until last Thursday media officer of the team.
And I believe what we're seeing the background of the which we will realize in the second leg of the battle.
In accordance with the promise of Sepp Blatter in June 2015, after his re-election for another fifth term in office, FIFA has fixed 26th of February 2016 as date for an extraordinary Congress to elect Blatter's successor. Sepp Blatter was re-elected as president of FIFA on May 29 in Zurich, Switzerland, but resigned 4 days later following investigations into corruption in FIFA. Those contesting for the office of FIFA president are to be nominated before October 26. The Sports News Update, Amanzi Marcus, NTA News.
It was a chilly Monday in Abuja and its environs. Now let's take a look at Tuesday's weather prospect in Nigeria and some world cities. Taiwo Odubeso.